All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. And now, with so many openings and more to come at big time college football programs as far as head coaches go, tis the season to cash in if your current employer does not want you to leave. And you could definitely add the name of Curt Cignetti to that list as far as guys who cashed in because their schools don't want them to leave for potentially greener pastures. So, on the heels of Penn State firing James Franklin last month, Cignetti's name initially was linked as potentially being on the radar there. But school officials at Indiana quickly put that to bed as before you blinked, they gave Cignetti an 8-year extension for $93 million. Now, you look at what Cignetti has done in less than 2 years in Indiana, and he is definitely a miracle worker. We're talking about the fact that the Hoosiers are 22-2 under Cignetti's watch. Consecutive 11-win seasons, a trip to the college football playoff, and they could be on to bigger and better things this year. To give you an idea of it, Indiana had never had a 11-win season, more or less a 10-win season before Curt Cignetti got to town. And now he has really changed the culture around this program because when you think about Indiana, athletic wise, you definitely think about their basketball program, their storied basketball program over the years. But now the folks are filling up the football stadium in Bloomington on a Saturday to Saturday basis, and the expectations are have changed. And Curt Cignetti is clearly showing that guess what? Last year was not a fluke as far as what he was able to do there. It's one of those where this extension that Cignetti received last month, clearly it says something about the school, but I think it says something more about Curt Cignetti as well because he could have easily written his own ticket to go someplace else, okay? But he's a blue collar guy and he wants blue collar type kids playing for him. And that is what we're seeing at this Indiana program, well, with the Indiana program under him. And that's what we saw with him at James Madison before he took the Indiana job. And you know what? I think we're going to see more scenarios like this where coaches decide to stay and not chase the dream. Why? Because if you're Curt Cignetti, Indiana's going to pay you handsomely, okay? On top of that, there's no pressure there for him. All right, you look at Curt Cignetti. I mean, granted, he got to the CFP last year. Indiana is probably, at this point, probably like a 98% chance that the Hoosiers get back to the college football playoff once again. Okay, it's one of those where if Curt Cignetti doesn't make the CFP for between now and the next 5 years in Bloomington, nobody's going to bat an eye just because of what he has done so far. Let's say, for an example, you take the Penn State gig. Okay, if he had done that, okay, anything less than a top 15 season, consistently getting to the college football playoff, winning the Big Ten, things of that nature would have put him on the hot seat. Not going to be the case for him in at Indiana, and it's one of those where you know what, at this rate, Curt Cignetti is going to be a folk hero there. Listen, they're going to build statues around that campus. They're going to build statues within that town for him and also probably name sandwiches after him, at local eateries, just to name a few. It's one of those where, like I said, the Hoosiers right now, they're 11-0. They've got one more game to go in the regular season, Purdue, and then they've got themselves a trip to the Big Ten championship game. And I will tell you like this: we don't know who Indiana is going to face there. The smart money's on Ohio State. Okay, make no mistake about it, because the Buckeyes are a runaway freight train. They just haven't clinched things yet. But nonetheless, you think about it. When the Big Ten championship game was created a little bit more than a decade ago, and it was decided that this game was going to be held in Indianapolis every year, little did anybody ever think that the Hoosiers would one day be there. We've seen the other uh, football program that calls Indiana home in the Big Ten, Purdue, get to Indianapolis. But I'll tell you like this, with the way that things have turned around and turned around so quickly for the Hoosiers under Curt Cignetti, I guarantee you that first Saturday night in the month of December in Indianapolis, Lucas Oil Stadium is going to be rocking, regardless of who the Hoosiers play. More than likely, it's going to be Ohio State, and of course, we know the folks will come from Columbus, travel well. But you know what? The folks in Indiana are definitely going to show up and show out that night as well. But I'll tell you like this: you look at Indiana. I said this before last month when they went on the road to Eugene and knocked off Oregon. That's when they made me a believer. That's when Curt Cignetti made me a believer because I didn't think they had it in them. Okay, and at this point, I like their chances because you know what? He believes, they believe. It's a hard nosed team. It's a hard nosed head coach. They go out there, they execute, they play very disciplined football, and at the end of the day, they check all of the boxes. So when they step onto that field at Lucas Oil Stadium, they have a legit shot to win the Big Ten. And then on top of that, to get to the college football playoff, they definitely have a legitimate shot to go out there and do some damage. I mean, they're currently ranked second in the rankings. Pretty good chance that they can get a first round bye for the college football playoff. If not this time around, they will definitely host a home game in the first round if they don't get a bye. Remember, Indiana had to go on the road last year, short road trip to South Bend to take on Notre Dame. Very good Notre Dame team, of course. We saw the Irish make the national championship game. But nonetheless, I think Indiana is going to build off of that experience last year, and they're going to look to do bigger and better things this time around. And again, it falls back into the lap of the guy who has really changed the culture. It's one of those where, you know what? When Curt Cignetti went to Bloomington, he brought his lunch pail. And that team has that mentality. And brick by brick, he is building something. And guess what? He's far from done. Indiana, like I said, for the longest time, has a reputation of being a basketball school. We're not going to say that anymore. And if Curt Cignetti continues on the path that he is currently on, we're going to be talking about Indiana 5 years from now as a power in the Big Ten Conference in regards to how football is going right now. But nonetheless, another solid season for the Hoosiers. They have their guy in Curt Cignetti to lead their program. He is a miracle worker. He has turned things around. You tip your cap to him, whatever term you want to use to describe it. But nonetheless, this Hoosiers team is for real. The administration there believes in their head coach. They've recognized what he's doing. And I think bigger and better things are on the horizon for Indiana football. But folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank each and every one of you for checking out the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. And as always, if you like what you heard and saw in this podcast, you know what to do. Just hit that like button as well as subscribing to this channel. And like I always say, it's greatly appreciated. Also, if you are on the X, formerly known as Twitter, you can check me out anytime at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you give me that follow, it'll be my pleasure to do the same in return. And that also goes for Instagram, where you can check me out at 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge. Also, if you're on Facebook, definitely check out the Sports Depot 365. And as far as I'm concerned, one of the better sports groups going on social media. But until next time, fine folks, my name is William Martin, and I am signing off, and I'm saying thanks once again for checking out the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. Be well, everybody.